This is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast, and today we got a special guest, the owner, the creator, the founder of the whole Impel movement. We got Leon in the building. We getting right to it.
It doesn't matter how you feel.
Once again, y'all, this is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. Leon, I greatly appreciate you for joining.
What's going on, G? What's going on?
Yes, indeed. Just a couple items before we get started. This is the first time we also streaming live on Instagram. We're streaming live on YouTube at the same time. Shout out to G for having everything going, man. If you are watching on Instagram, I encourage you to go ahead, hit the link in the bio, subscribe on YouTube, go ahead and join on YouTube. That's where we'll primarily be following up on the comments, but we are over on Instagram as well. Leon, I'm just going to dive right into the conversation here. I'm rocking some of the gear. You've got it on too as well. Just like, what does this mean, Impel Forward?
Impel Forward. The word impel means to drive, force, or urge someone to do something. Simply, I always give people that long version, but it simply means to take action. And I try to inspire people to take action in whatever it is they're trying to do. You know, a lot of people, we all have dreams, goals, and aspirations, but sometimes it's just stuck in our head. We never put it into action, or don't know how to put it into action, or don't know where to start at. So I just use myself to show people that things can get done if we just put it in action, take action.
Word up. You know, I think that's dope. And like, I gotta go back, because when you talk about putting stuff in action, like we gonna really talk about like your journey as an entrepreneur, which led you to the Impel brand. And I'll just share a quick story in terms of how I first met Leon. Leon has actually been cutting my hair since I actually had hair one. So that's like, you remember them days was spinning back in the day. So like Leon can attest to that.
Yeah, I'm spinning.
So Leon been cutting my hair since high school. And the first time I met Leon was at a barbershop in Durham. It was called J&S off of Chapel Hill Road, right there, kind of the intersection of Chapel Hill Road and Cornwallis. And like, I gotta keep it a stack. You like most barbershops, you was the new dude. And I was like, man, I'm good. I'll wait. Like, just talk to me about what that initial experience was like in Durham, being a new barber. Was that like your first time, like your first, I guess, gig in Durham, if you will? But just what was that like being new to the barbershop at that time, where I felt like I first saw you get started with all of this?
It's funny that you say that, because what's this, 2023?
Yeah.
I had that happen to me in 2020, I think.
Oh, word.
Yeah. So so the barbershop fluctuates, days different. You might be busy one day, the next day you might not be busy. So I'm just sitting down. I ain't had no customer. I mean, I've been cutting hair 20 years. It's some days I still might only cut 3 people in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting in there in the barbershop one day, and a guy come in there, he needed a haircut. And I'm just sitting there. He said, you cutting? I said, yeah, I'm cutting. I said, you need a haircut? He said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. He said, you sitting down. He's like, you sitting down. I don't know if you can cut. I said, what's up to you to get in my chair? I'm gonna cut your hair if you get in my chair. To this day, he act like he can't miss an appointment. He come every week.
Every week.
Every week. And he get mad if I ain't at work.
Word.
but growing up, man, I grew up in the barbershop, so I already knew what it took. I knew what it was going to be like to start my clientele. And even like you say, even then, when I was first starting, I had a guy I seen every day at the gym. He knew I was in barber school. He knew when I finished. But he would still ask me, "You getting any better yet? You getting any better yet?" And I got tired of him asking me that. Just come and see. Come and see.
Yeah.
And eventually, it still took him a while to come sit in my chair. But I knew what it took to grow. So I wasn't never impatient. Some people are, especially if you never grew up in it and you just want it so fast. And I knew what it took. So I was working a full-time job too. So even though I didn't have customers, I would go to work, go to my full-time job, come to the barber shop. Sometimes I'll sleep in the chair. I'll be gone, sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody came. I never got discouraged because like I said, I knew what it took. Sometimes I might get one head, sometimes I might not get no heads. But I still come to work, I still show up, I still sweep, I still look at the other barbers cut, which I did that all throughout my life. So yeah, I knew what it took. So it didn't just discourage me at all.
Word. And so you grew up in a barbershop. Like, talk to me about that. Like what does that mean you grew up like in a barbershop setting?
Well, my pops, Mac, he's my step pops, but I call him my pops, Mac. Everybody know him from the city. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. 2-6.
Shout out to Fayetteville.
Yeah. My step pops, Mac, which is my pop. He raised me. He had a barbershop right outside our neighborhood. My mother did hair, and he had a barbershop right outside our neighborhood. So he cutting everybody in the neighborhood hair, cutting everybody to school hair, high school hair, everybody on the football team, basketball team. He cutting everybody. So I'm practically in the barbershop, seeing things, and grew up in there sweeping and whatever. But I really wasn't paying attention then,
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in the barbershop, and I knew what it took, and I knew back then he used to try to teach me things, but I was doing whatever, being a kid, being a young boy. And so I didn't really pay attention to a lot of his teachings, but I was around it all the time.
So you grew up in a household where the male figure was a barber, and your mother, the woman
Yeah.
figure, was did hair as well.
Yeah, and she worked in the salon. And my biological father, he also went to barber school too. He was a barber.
Oh wow, okay.
I learned later on that he went to the same barber school I went to, Harris Barber College. Shout out to Harris Barber College in Raleigh.
Word. So shout out to Harris Barber College. And let me make sure I heard that correct. You're saying that you didn't know your father was a barber, or you didn't know y'all went to the same barber school?
Uh, I didn't know we went to the same barber school until later on.
Word. Okay. And so growing up in Fayetteville, how would you describe that? Like your experience, like, cause like, is your family from there, or did somebody get there in the military? Like, and then what was that just like growing up in Fayetteville?
Growing up fast. No, my mother wasn't in the military. I was originally born in Southern Pines, Aberdeen
Okay.
area, Pinehurst, North Carolina. I left there. We left. It's right up the street, about 30 minutes from
Mm-hmm.
Fayetteville. So we left there when I was about 4 or 5. That's how we got to Fayetteville. I got to Fayettille, but nobody was in the military.
Word.
Yeah, but
Word.
it's kind of fast paced growing up
Like
in Fayetteville.
fast paced, what does that mean?
Well, when I say I ain't not fast paced, but how can I put it? You grow up fast. You learn a lot. You learn things pretty fast as far as being in the neighborhood you grew up in. And being in the streets. Even just being in school.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And so, yeah, that's basically how you can explain it.
Okay. And so you growing up in Fayetteville, learning things from the environment.
hmm
What were some of those early influences that outside of the barbershop you were into in those days growing up? Like, what were some of the things that you remember getting into at that time period?
I always played sports since I was in elementary. Started flag football. Everybody in my neighborhood played sports, from wrestling to baseball to football, basketball. We played my whole neighborhood, man. All of us was athletes, and so that's what I grew up on the most. Uh, break dancing. Everybody grew up in the '80s. Break dancing, doing the talent shows. You know, and yeah, that's basically what I did growing up a lot. And I started getting in trouble in elementary school a lot too. So yeah,
Elementary.
yeah.
Like when you say trouble in elementary, like how much trouble can a young male be in elementary school? I started getting in trouble in elementary too, so I'm curious to hear, like, from your point of view, what did that trouble initially look like?
Just I don't know what it was in school. Just being I don't know if sometimes I say class clown, but I don't know if I was the class clown. I just wouldn't. I don't know. Would just get in trouble sometimes. Like, I know plenty of times I had to be in the hall writing sentences, or just going to sit in the hallway, just being a disruptor in class. My very first suspension was probably fourth or fifth grade. A teacher made me mad, and I after school I went out after school. I went outside and got this big piece of glass and tried to put it, adjust it under her tire, so when she backed out, that it would bust the tire. So it would bust the tire, and a parent walked up and saw me. She took me to the office. Now I got suspended for 5 days. So
Mm.
doing stuff like that, man, I got in a couple fights. One fight, pushing a boy over in a desk, almost fighting, and just doing some crazy, little things in class, stuff like that.
Like
Yeah.
I'm curious as like an adult today, because I got in random little, I used to do the silliest of things in elementary school where I would get in trouble, where it's like, I don't know, like as an adult, it's like, who knows? But I'm curious, just
Yeah.
from your point of view, like, do you know or have any idea as to what made you maybe act out in those early years that in retrospect, like you're very much conscious of today?
Back then I didn't know, but I think as I got older, I probably I would may put it leaning on towards not having my biological father there.
Hmm.
Uh, I didn't notice. See, when my father left, when I was like 4 or 5, and I didn't put it together till I got older. Like, cause I used to always, it never bothered me. I'm pretty sure we'll get to this point from what my future led me to. But
Yeah, just hey, let it rock. Like it's gonna go wherever it go. Just let it
okay,
like don't feel free to just say whatever's on the heart.
yeah, but I didn't know that until later on in life. Even I've been to prison, so after I went to prison later on, years down the road, it didn't bother me. I used to always just think about him and my sister's aspect, like leaving girls. Me,
Mm.
being a boy, I'm wild, I'm doing whatever. So it was no love lost, you know, towards my father and my sisters. We all still love them, but just me with me having girls now, I'm like, how did he do that? You know, how could you do that? But and I think that's probably had something to do with it, you
Hmm.
know. But I also had, like I said, I did have my step pops there, but it wasn't really that discipline, that you should have when you're
Hmm.
younger. My mother, she did what she can do, But yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I can relate to that, man. I definitely can. Like, I do feel like I was very much raised. Of course, like the house and the home is a
Yeah.
crucial factor, but I
Mhm.
was raised outside. Like,
Yeah.
I was always outside, and from doing silly things like setting the neighborhood thing, trash can on fire by accident, and the fire department come, and everybody like, oh, I know it was them kids playing by the trash can, everything like
Yeah.
just little things as a kid, you're not really thinking about like ramifications, consequences. You're not thinking about none of that, but you just having fun, shooting the breeze, being curious, doing all types of stuff. And I felt like just being outside definitely, in the long run, was beneficial, even though it caused a lot of road bumps, say in the early stages, that if I stayed the course, it might have been a smoother path. But those roadblocks also kind of helped prepare me for the realities of how fragile life is and things that how quickly things can change.
Yeah. And I grew up in I grew up in the church, man. So it's like, I guess, being in church and not really getting the message and not being there for a good reason or learning anything doesn't say much. But I grew up in the church,
Mm-hmm.
and so I came from a good background. It's just that my grandma, she often, shout out to my grandmother, Dr. Lydia Jones, but she always talks about how I did used to be in church, but I'm sitting in there just chewing on gum, not listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I grew up. I got good man. I got a great family, man. Great loving family. So I had a good background, and I guess just growing up in the neighborhood, your environment, and sometimes it can lead you in another direction.
Yeah.
And we all say, I got homeboys who grew up in the same neighborhood I grew up in, and never went the route I took.
Right.
So it's all on you what route you take. Like, even with me to taking the route I took, I didn't, even the homeboys that I hung around, they never told me. Like, people say, "What, you hanging around the wrong crowd." No, they was my friends I grew up with. We've been in the same neighborhood since we kids. So I don't consider that a wrong crowd. I just consider that, you making bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily hanging around the wrong crowd. Hanging around the wrong crowd to me is like you going to get people you don't even know and you start doing stuff. These are my friends. We grew up together, doing
Right.
everything together. So
Right.
yeah.
I feel you on that. I do feel you on that because just because folks might do some bad things don't make them bad people. Like,
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I do feel you on that. I got homies that, people might judge X, Y, and Z, but I just know at the core they're solid folks. Like I know they're solid. So I agree with what you're saying 1,000%. So
Yeah.
like going back to that time, like were you cutting heads even at that young age? Were you the plug where like Leon got it like
No, I remember cutting me and my homeboy. Uh I think I cut him one time in the house. I don't know if he no, I don't think he got on my head now. But I probably messed with his head about one time. That was it. It was always clippers around. So that was it. That was really only time, you know.
word? So you weren't cutting hair at all like growing up. Like
Mm-mm, mm.
okay, wow,
I'm,
okay.
I'm gonna tell you where I really started really learning and paying attention was when I was in prison.
Mm.
I was in prison. As soon as I got there, I'm finding the barber who's at the prison. Every camp I went to, I'm trying to find out who the barber is. I'm hanging with them, getting tight with them. They showing me different things, or I'm just sitting there learning. That's when I
Mm.
really started learning. I already knew. Even when I got locked up when I was 15. I was about to turn 16,
Mm.
and even then, like when I first went off, I already knew what I was gonna be doing
Oh,
once
you
I
got
came out.
locked up as an adult, like with adults.
But starting off, I had a dope charge, and so at 15, if you had like a serious crime, what they would do is I think it's called bound you over or something to a dope, something whatever they called it. But I
Hmm.
got charged with a dope for my crime.
Wow.
My crown is violet. But I started off at a youth spread in Morganton, North Carolina. It was called High Rise at the time, at 16 floors. It was real tall. They recently tore it down. But I started out there. But I
Mm.
was charged as an adult. So I was sentenced to 30 years at the age of 15.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't think I ever heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I was yeah, I was it was an experience, I just like I said, just hanging out in Fayetteville, man, just doing whatever, man. I left home. I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. So,
Why do you think you dropped out?
man, we just want to do whatever.
Mm.
Just want to just do whatever. I left home. First I left home. I think I left home first, whichever one. And then once I dropped out of school, but whichever how I can't really remember how it happened, but I left school. I left home. I dropped out of school. I know my 10th grade year. I remember I had a history of getting kicked out of school. So my eighth
Mm-hmm.
grade year, I got kicked out of school, and I had to go to an alternative school. You send all the kids who get kicked out of school. I went there for fighting or whatever. And then when you go to the alternative school, they don't care. As long as you show up, do some work, they go past you. So I did
Mm-hmm.
that. So my ninth grade year, I don't recall why I wanted to go back, but I did something and I hit somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
principal, nobody knew about it. I actually told on myself. I, I told principal what happened, and he was like, "Why you tell me that?" I said, because I want to go back. It was back then. It was called Massey Hill. Yeah, it was called Massey Hill, and
Oh man.
so he did a little investigation and found out, yeah, that it happened. So he sent me. I went back. So for the second year in a row, I was kicked out of school. I
So
went to
you intentionally was trying to go back.
yeah, yeah. I
Like,
don't. I don't ask me why.
yeah, like do you have any
Well,
clue why? Like
I
any
knew
clue
why.
why?
It was kind of a fun. Like I say,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a fun school.
Mm-hmm.
All the bad kids went there. I mean, it wasn't. You didn't have to do a lot of work. You
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it was just school, just having fun. As long as you did your work, they they passed you.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to come home with a whole lot of homework, not doing too much and nothing. And so I passed. But my ninth grade year, I actually got kicked out of that school for
Mm.
me and my homeboy was about to fight. It was actually his problem, but he from my neighborhood, is my homeboy. So we actually went to school dressed to fight that same day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and actually when we got into the school, so we get in there hallway, didn't nothing actually happen because everybody knew what was going to happen that day. So it was a bunch of commotion and teachers broke it up already, but they just kicked us out of school. And I had to go. I couldn't go to no school in Cumberland County, so I had to go back to Moore County to finish out my ninth grade year there. And then
Mm.
after that I came home for that summer. After the school was out, I came home for the summer, moved back to Fayetteville that summer. And then I don't know, I don't know what it was, man. I guess it just wanted to hang out more. No, I was the youngest one out of all my friends. So I don't care. Mostly all my homeboys. I was the youngest one out of all my homeboys. So I had little freedom to do and go to parties and this and that. But they had all the freedom. They'd be out all times of the night doing whatever, go whatever, this and that. And I guess it's just me wanting to hang out more.
Mm-hmm.
And I already not liking school too much. Well, I ain't gonna say I didn't like school. I just didn't. I just guess I was just having too much fun. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I played football from flag all the way up to my JV year, and even in my 10th grade year when I did drop out, I only could play 3 games because my first game I couldn't play because and that was the beginning of the school year. I got in trouble. Well, we was about to fight. We was about to do something in school. So I think my mother had to come to go to the school or something. I couldn't play the first game. The second game I couldn't start. The third game I started. That was my last game, and then that was my JV year, my last game. But I lost my frame of thought. But yeah, I got kicked out of school. Yeah, I dropped out of school, and then I was already doing things while I was staying at home,
Mm-hmm.
like hanging in the streets, doing a lot of different things, and eventually I just dropped out of school and just started doing a lot of other things.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yo, 15 years old, looking at 30 years, like, I'm not like 40, 45. like, how long did you end up having to serve that time?
I did 7.5 years. I got when I was like 23, something like that. I think 23.
Word, word. So like, if you're comfortable sharing, like, what did you get charged with that was a 30-year sentence?
I got charged with attempted murder and armed robbery. Attempted murder. I had two. Was it two? I think two armed robberies and attempted murder. Yeah.
And when you got say arrested for this, did you have to turn yourself in? Did you get caught like in a situation?
I actually turned myself in. My family, they didn't. I was running for a while, a little bit, and my family, they didn't want the police to catch me and
Mm-hmm.
hurt me or whatever. And so eventually, I went ahead and turned myself in. And it's, I know we laughing and sitting here thinking about a lot of things that talking about all this stuff, but it was uh it was something painful as far as to see the things that I did, and especially hurting my family. That's one of the things I try to talk to young kids about when I do come across them getting in trouble or doing things. It's like when you're out there, you're not you know what you're doing, but you don't care at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're out there doing things, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting your family. And that was one of the biggest things for me when I first got locked up, and I knew what I was facing. But I didn't even cry because I was scared. I cried because I knew I hurt my mother. I'm
Mm-hmm.
laying in that because first I had to go to the detention center because I was still young, and I'm laying in the little, it wasn't no dorm because it's a detention center, little room, still
Mm-hmm.
room. And I'm just thinking about, I'm crying like crazy because nothing. I wasn't scared. Like I said, I wasn't scared. I just knew I hurt my mother. She tried so hard to keep me out of trouble. She used to tell me, "You out in these streets and this and that, this and that. When you go downtown, I ain't coming to get you out." But soon as I get
Yeah.
down, she the first one. She one of the first one there.
Yeah. Yo, black moms will tell their sons this. I swear my mama told me the same thing.
Yeah,
Like, don't call me. Like, I
yeah,
won't be there to get you out. Like, but when you get in trouble, they the first
yeah.
ones to help. Like, no question.
Her and my grandmother, they stuck with me all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's the thing about it. My grandma, she wrote me so much. I can't remember. I know she wrote me a lot. I can't remember that she seen me too much in there, but she wrote me a lot. So they stuck by me a lot. But yeah, when you're out there, but when you're out there in the streets, you ain't trying to hear what nobody's trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what age were you when you left like the youth facility?
16. Once you turn 16, you can go. But it was
This
like,
is crazy. So hold up, man. Hold up. So okay,
but it was
okay,
like,
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
know what you're about to say. But so when you leave there, it's like it's different levels to adult spread. So like Potent and Morrison at the time was like I think no, it was 18. It was 18. So 18, once you turn 18, you go to like Polk and Morrison, somewhere like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like that, I think that was like 18 to 20 something, maybe a little older. can't recall, but and then depends on the seriousness. My crime was serious, but sometimes it just depends on uh how you are as an inmate, or
Mm-hmm.
the more seriousness of your crime. If you went to a real dope prison, you know. But really, they're all the same. You're still locked up, no matter how old you are or where you go. I was talking to a guy before a couple years ago, and we just talking about prison and where we been and things we did and whatever. And he told me, he said, "Oh, you was in a young prison." I'm like, I'm glad you like that. You was in you was in a adult prison. I'm saying it's still the same. You still was locked up regardless.
Right. Right.
And then sometimes even being at youth spreads, it's still kind of wild because you still young and you still ain't caring about that. Even
Right.
when I was in a youth spread, I'm seeing we having fights on the elevators and in the kitchen. You having brawls and staircases. So it's still the same thing. It don't matter. Some people like to brag on like where they was at, but it don't
Mm-hmm.
matter. You still out there. You still doing the same thing. You still around a whole bunch of dudes. Ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So like when you 15 looking at 30 years, like are you thinking you're about to be locked up till 45 at the time, or did you realistically know that you would be able to get out a little bit earlier?
Not at the time, really, man. I'm telling you. Look, then was before I really knew about the plea bargain. I knew a little bit about taking pleas, going to trial, this and that. But when I was in there and being in the county jail or the detention center, you'd rather go ahead and just tell them, give me your time and send you on to prison, because it's like it's so confined. It's like, and you just ready to go because it kind of like can drive you crazy because you in one
Mm-hmm.
box,
Mm-hmm.
probably around 15 people every day, all day, or 20 people all day, and some people sit in the county for 2 years, 3 years waiting on trial. Sometimes you're ready to go. And even when I was 15 years old, I knew that I still had time.
Mm-hmm.
I knew time was still ahead of me. So I was like, man, I think they came to me with one plea, and I think we shot that one down. But they came to me at 30. I was like, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's take it. I'm ready to go because I'm ready to go ahead and just get my time started. Because I knew I wasn't going home. I knew I had time to do, and I was just ready to go. So yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
was it. I wasn't
Wow.
thinking about how old I was gonna be, or if was I gonna do the. Now once I got there, I thought about it like, okay, let's start calculating.
Yeah.
At that moment, nah, I was just ready to go.
And you said it wasn't until then in that time period that you really started to think about like how you were going to make a living, basically, like how you were going to find a skill, a trade, and you
Hmm.
started really paying attention then. Like,
Yeah.
what was the light bulb moment for you where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna use my time to do this.
Um, just basically because I knew I wasn't gonna go be hanging out, doing nothing in the streets when I came home. I knew that wasn't. I can't say that. Well, I guess I can't say it wasn't me, but people like to say that wasn't me or that ain't me. But sometimes I think, well, that was you at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I like look at that was me at the time, and even being my time was real short. I wasn't no real street dude, so I don't want to portray that. I mean, I hung around a lot of my homeboys that was did way more than I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just was out there and got caught up in some things, and I knew I wasn't coming home to be trying to be no street dude or be whatever, and I knew that I wanted to be home, get home to my family, and do what I had to do to stay home. And so, like I said, I already knew that cutting hair. I knew I was gonna cut hair and be a barber. So even I say like I was 15, 16, 17. I'm already in there around the barber, watching the barber cut hair. They used to have to come to different floors, cut hair. So yeah, I already knew.
Word.
And even with that, even further on in my sentence, I started. I made a post a couple weeks ago. Like I'm in the clothes house. In the clothes house, it's just a recycle. It's like if you're on a camp with 300 dudes, I might get your boxes the next week that you had on.
Yeah.
So I'm in there selling, I worked in a couple clothes houses. So, I used to sell clothes in the clothes house. And I tell people that's probably what I got my entrepreneurship started at too, because I'm selling clothes. We don't like to, for visitation, we like to have fresh clothes. And so, or we just don't want to be washing out, having other people clothes on. So even though it ain't no way around it, sometimes you go have to wear everybody's clothes. So,
Right.
but sometimes people want to buy new boxes, buy 7 pair of brand new pants just to wear on visitation or just to wear around the yard. That's the way we looked at being fresh while I was in prison, having new white, putting the clothes up on the mattress, keeping the crease, for visitation and stuff like that. And so I sold clothes at the clothes house. I loaned sharp, for a while, couple camps, dollar on a dollar. I give you five, you give me 10, give me 20,
Hmm.
whatever it was dollar on a dollar. And I used to have a lot of money on me. And back then you could only have $30 on you a week. But I used to have way over $30 a week. So I used to have to, spurt my money out different
Like I
people.
would imagine though, if you the back there with that bread, like that draw a lot of eyes, envy,
Yeah, but a lot of people were doing it. But I was cool, man. I was cool with man, I'm a laid back guy, man. So I was cool with a lot of different people. I ain't really had that much. I did get in a fight my 4th month in prison. Um, but I went to hold twice, but but overall, I only had 2 infractions, 2 or 3, but overall, I was pretty cool.
I don't know where them
Oh, that's it. I just found out that's a new some kind of new thing they put on this thing, man. I just found that out last night on another podcast.
like where them balloons come from?
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Yeah, I don't know what it means.
Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know so okay, so I appreciate you just speaking about this because like how we said at the beginning, like impel, it means something. And I think in your journey, especially, like that's just been the theme from the beginning. Like,
Mhm.
gotta keep going. You saw there was a future, even at say arguably your lowest point at the time.
Right.
Having to be able to have that mindset, go in and even go in there and try to like make the best of it to some degree, right? Like you said, that entrepreneurial spirit, finding ways to just to do what you can while you're in there.
Mhm.
Like you share quite a bit, but I'm just curious, like just for you being who you are today, like what do you think is the biggest takeaway from that time served?
The biggest takeaway, a lesson learned, probably. Um, that would probably be the biggest takeaway that I can think of that comes to mind. Uh, I have a tattoo on my arm says "time wasted." No, I think it says "time wasted, lesson learned," something like that. It's an
Uh-huh.
hourglass with the time on there, and it just reminds me of Oh, I guess you could say time wasted. I wasted even now. Um, all the things I'm doing or trying to do or been doing throughout the years, I always feel like I'm behind.
Mm.
I'm 47 years old, and people say God will put you where you're supposed to be at the right time. But I always feel like I'm behind. So I guess yeah, that's my biggest takeaway from that time being wasted. I wasted a lot of time in my life, and
Hmm.
just from that, we all have even with like you said, the Impel. We all have setbacks, but we can't let that setback keep us back. You know,
Right.
on the Impel forward, man, and just try to overcome things and obstacles that's been placed in your life or things you do, the bad decisions. A lot of people like to say they call it mistakes, but I call it bad decisions. I'm man enough to say I made some bad decisions. Especially back then, bad decisions. Wasn't no mistakes. I knew what
The
I was
mistake
doing.
was getting caught.
Right, right, right. I knew what I
Yeah.
was doing, and just some bad decisions in life. And so,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, I guess that can it's a lot. You can say that question you asked me, bad decisions, time wasted, lesson learned. It's a lot.
Yeah, like, and at what point, like, because I mean, 30 years, but you say you served seven,
7.5, yeah.
7.5.
I was on parole for 3 years. And it was at a point where I started to go back, man.
What you mean go back?
I had a parole officer, man. He was you got some people who try to help you, who want to see you do good, and then you have some who try to just be so hard on you. And I don't know if my grandmother or my mother remember this, but this PO man, I had a PO that was she told me I had time to pay my restitute not re- I think it was restitution. It was something I had to pay. I had to pay monthly and I was on a curfew. And she told me, don't worry about it, you got time. She was working with me.
Hmm.
But I think she got fired or something. And then I had another one. Man, this dude he was real anal. So, me and him bumped heads a lot. And I started telling him, go ahead, send me back. I'll finish out the three years and I ain't got to worry about it. I was serious, man. I was ready. I was like, look, I can go ahead and go back. I ain't got
Like,
no.
what like, for those who aren't aware, like, what was it about the dynamic that really made you feel like I'd rather just go back than deal with you?
Just the pressure of him trying, because I knew that he would possibly revoke me for something stupid. He wanted to put me on some kind of drug class. I wasn't never on drugs. I did smoke weed, but that was it. But that was nothing I was charged with. Or I didn't have no habit or nothing.
Hmm.
Um, he wanted to do that, and then he got on me for not paying money. I don't think I wasn't working. I was working a little bit, but it was he just I don't know. He was just I guess being strictly by the book. He might have was doing his job, but he was just real tough,
Hmm.
and I just didn't want to. I just I don't know. I was matching his energy. Put it that way. And I was like,
Yeah.
look, go ahead and send me back. But eventually I got switched from him too. I probably had about 4 or 5 different POs. So yeah. And some people do violate parole just from not doing what they're supposed to do. But even when I was in there, I used to see people come back all the time, man, just
Right.
for simple stuff. Like, man, let me get out. Let
Yeah.
me get out.
And so like, was there a particular reason why you were able to do the 7.5 with the 3 years of parole? Was it because of like your behavior? Was it because of overcrowding? Like, was there any? Did you file something to make that happen? Like,
No, they do look at that your behavior and all that too. But back then, I was up under the old law, so the old law was like what was the
mm,
old law? I forgot what the old law was, but they changed it to 85% in 1994. You had to do 85% of your time in 1994. But before then, um, you can get time cut off your sentence. So automatically your time get cut in half. Don't ask me how they do it or whatever they get. But I had two consecutive sentences. I had a 14-year sentence and a 16-year sentence.
they did it consecutive.
Yes, I had to start on. I had to do one before I did the other.
Is there
And
a reason why it wasn't concurrent?
I do not know. They do. I don't know.
That's
It's,
crazy.
it's probably
That's
it's probably something I could have got done back then if I'd have known, but I don't even know. But I had to. They always say concurrent was better than consecutive.
Yeah,
And so
because
I
they
had
run at the same time.
right. So I had the one where you had to do one, then start on the
It
other.
didn't start. Woo, woo.
And so yeah, I had to so and then it had jobs like if you're in the kitchen, say like you work in the kitchen, certain jobs in prison, uh they allow you to get game time. Like say if you work in the kitchen, you might get 14 to 16 days off each month.
Mm.
Or if you work in the clothes house, you might get the same amount. Or in the canteen, which is the store inside the prison. Like if you working there, you might get 21 days off a whole month. And then later on, when I was on the tail end of my sentence, I was working for what they call the fence crew, and went around the whole state putting up fences around
Wow.
newly built prisons. And so we had inclement weather time where, like, if it snowed or was real cold, you might get 20 something days off a month. And so that had helped me out a lot too. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
They had people in prison putting up fences around new prisons
Yeah.
in the
I,
state.
I think I did around maybe 8 prisons. I ran around putting up new fences around the whole new prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So like, how did you feel? Because you go in at 15, fast forward 7. Like, how did you just feel leaving, coming home?
Mhm.
Like, just did you go back to the same neighborhood that you left? Like just what was that initial sort of time period for you like?
Oh no, I knew exactly that I wasn't going back to Fayetteville. I knew that wasn't a no-brainer. I didn't want to go back to the same place. So I came to Durham, Chapel Hill area, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, I came straight to Durham, Chapel Hill area. Had an aunt, her and my uncle. They took me in, and they I stayed here. I just stayed here because I knew I wasn't going back. So stayed here, and I worked. I had an aunt. She had a house cleaning business, and an uncle who had a plumbing business. And I worked with both of them, and working with both of them, was able to get my first car.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I didn't look back. I went to I did go to Durham Tech to try to finish up my GED, but I needed a job, so I needed to keep working. I think I had stopped working with them, or it was just kind of off and on. And I did at that one time. I did want to complete and get my GED, but later on, I was like, I need to work. I need money, you
Yeah.
know. So that's what I did, and I didn't never like to this day. I still don't have a high school diploma or a GED, and I didn't never, you know, I just kept working. I found
Yeah.
my way through it, and now I work for. And that's another thing, man. Even coming home from prison, and a lot of people say, well, it is. I'm not gonna say, it is kind of hard for people to find jobs out here, or for people to hire felonies. And what I like to tell people, you got to, when you go applying for a job, when you coming home, you got to be sincere when you go in. You got to talk to these people face to face. I know everything's on the internet now, but you got to let them know that you are serious about, coming home and being a change, being a changed person. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did. I worked for Car Drugs distribution center, and I did a lot of temp jobs, and man, I did, man, yeah, I did a lot of temp jobs, and Car Drugs. I was on from a temp agency, and they wanted to hire me permanent. And on the application, it was worded kind of crazy. And I took it to my aunt. I said, and I let her see it. She said, yeah, it's worded kind of different. And she said, just put no. So
Gotta make sure you read it right. You gotta make sure you read it right.
yeah, it had something to do with getting a felony.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it to the manager at the time, and he said, I said, look, I told him, explained to him, I got a felony and this and that, this and that. And he's like, don't worry about it. He said, "You're a good worker." Every place I went, I did my work, did what I needed to do, and he like, "Don't worry about it." So he got fired later or quit or whatever, and somehow HR um found out that I had a felony. And I think it was because it was an article that I was in, and they was talking about how I made a change and how I'm doing good out in the community as far as working and not getting basically not getting in no trouble.
Hmm.
And I think they found out about it. They called me now. Why didn't you tell us you had a felony? And I explained to him what the manager told me. He said, "Look, don't worry about it. He liked the way I work, and I was good." And so they eventually they let me stay on. I kept working,
Oh,
and
word.
even when they shut down, I was able to. That's when, matter of fact, that's how I got to barber school, because I really had no plan on when I was gonna go to barber school or how I was gonna get there. But once they shut down and moved to Henderson, they gave me a severance package. I used some of that money also with a loan from the bank to go to barber school. But at the same time, I still went to another distribution center, North Carolina Mutual, and went to barber school. Yeah, but
Wha-
then even when working at Mutual, I had to talk to the lady then, and she was just so inspired by me. I guess you could call it selling myself to her, letting her know, look, I needed a job. I told her my background, this and that, and she hired me. She loved me.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. I got to shout out to the fact that you had two relatives who had businesses that you could then like leverage as resources after
Mhm.
coming home. Like, to
Yeah.
me, that's something I wish we had more of from a community standpoint, like institutionally. These
Right.
these 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 businesses that we create,
Mhm.
unfortunately for folks that look like us, I often say, like, you know, you make it to 22 if you don't get swept up in the system by
Yeah.
then you're playing with like house money. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
We're targeted in disproportionate ways. Even if you don't go to prison, you'll still probably have to end up going to court, getting a lawyer for something at some point.
Yeah.
Um, and and way too often, like the smallest infraction will then snowball into something that's like, it all started with something small, didn't have enough money to do X, Y, or Z, get the lawyer, do the
Mhm.
follow up, no expungement. Now you got a little second random thing less than a month later, and then stuff starts to compound relatively quick, especially when
Mhm.
you're young and just doing stuff. It's like, we need more stuff that's owned by us so
Right.
that growing up in a country, in a society that's naturally going to target folks that look like us, we
Mhm.
need to have things on the other side of that, so that because we get targeted so much, we have some remedies to help these folks along when they get out, so that they don't just get institutionalized and fall into that cycle of just never getting out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then, yeah, that was a big thing for me. I had even when I was in, I had my family. Like I said, I had great family support. So when I came home, they had my aunt had her business, and my uncle had his business. That was good for me. But like you said, everybody don't have that.
Yeah.
That was a big plus for me. And so even with me now having two barbershops, and I run across people coming home, and even if they ain't coming home or they just starting in the barber business, I'm trying to look out, doing my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me about barber school, because there are a lot of folks out there that definitely cut hair, have a skill set, can do it, but to say professionalize yourself, have a LLC, have a business, you got to have like a license or something you put on the wall, some kind of certificate to say, you are certified.
Right.
What is barber school? Like, what do you have to do? How long does it take? Just what is barber school?
Well, barber schools now are way more expensive than when I went. When I went, I think it was only like 3,500. Now, don't quote me on these prices now,
For
but I
for
think
how long? For how long of a commitment?
now I went for 8.5, 9 months.
Okay.
That was full time. Then part time, it was 12 months. But this is at Harris Barber College. But these other barber schools, man, they now shoot, they charging shoot. It's private. I don't know. You got to take out some big loans for these barber schools now.
Like more
And
than 10,000?
yeah, I think so. More, it's up there. It's up
Like
there.
more than 20,000?
I think so. Don't quote me on the price, but it's high. It's real high. And yes, and they take a lot of them taking now probably about a year and a half, 2 years, because they are learning color and uh, chemicals, and learning a lot more stuff now. Now, sure, they did that back in the day, but I can't remember what their prices were. I don't know if their prices were like they are now, but
Yeah, because every got to spray something in their beard these days. I don't know why this is the case, but why did we normalize this in the community? What's your take on that? Just as a barber, like, why do every got to get something sprayed in his beard? Everything just
hey,
what's up with that?
I give them what they want. I don't do it on everybody because everybody don't want it, but with some barbers, they have to do it. At first I didn't do it because I didn't know how long it was gonna last on them. I ain't want to be looking good and see them out the next hour or two or the next day and it's looking crazy. So I didn't really like doing it, but a lot of people liked it. People started asking about it. I said, okay, well, I guess I got to start doing it. They go pay for it. I'm gonna give it to them, give them what they want.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and like everybody don't want it, so I have it all. I do the spray, the dye, the I did. I used to do Beijing a lot. Well, it's called vegan, really. I don't know who started to call it Beijing. It's called
Hold up, yo.
vegan.
I never heard that before. Everybody call it Beijing. You say it's called vegan?
Vegan. Yeah, that's what it is. Vegan. And people started calling it Beijing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yo, everybody says Beijing is vegan. Okay, we just learned something new. All right,
that's
bet.
what I pull up a box or something and look at it. But I don't know if I got a hyphen there. What you call it? The little what you call the little thing over the e. But
Little apostrophe like sign.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what accent mark, whatever,
yeah,
whatever we call it. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah. So I do it all, man. It's just gotta give people what they want.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been cutting hair, been a barber for 20 years. I opened up my first barbershop 5 years after coming out of barber school. So it took me 5 years to build my clientele, and I was off.
So when you in barber school, is your test the cut? Do you have to take written tests, like where you studying material? Like,
Yeah, you take
how
a
do you earn that certificate?
practical and you take a written. You have to do a little taper haircut in the back, and a little mid fro. Yeah, whoever you take, the model hair has to be like I think 3 inches or more. You have to cut it down to they call it a business type haircut. You
Mm-hmm.
tape out the back. You have to put the razor on them, shave them with a straight razor, and then it's like a written test. I forgot how many questions or words on there or questions on there, and you just have to pass that, and you have to do it. I think 2 times, and then after that, you get your license, and you're off. But even though some people pass the test, they still don't know how to cut. You know, so it's just a test you get they pass. It's just some people say it's just about money. And
Yeah.
you
Like
really
what kind of ramifications or trouble could you get in? Like if I just want to cut hair out of my living room and have people come to the crib,
Mhm.
do I need a license for that?
I think you do. You can get if somebody tell on you and they come inspecting, knocking at your door. You probably can get in trouble for that. You know,
Really?
yeah, yeah. But most times they don't. As far as barbering, they not. They ain't going around looking for that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they got bigger things to do.
Interesting. So you go through the barber school, you get you graduate.
Hmm.
How long, like, was JNS your first spot, and how long did it take to get to your first spot?
That was my first spot, straight out of barber school, JNS Barbershop. Uh, Shout out to John Scott,
Shout out to
one
John.
one of my mentors. Yeah, I went straight out of barber school, 2003. Yeah, straight there, and stayed there for 5 years. Learned, all I could. The times I wouldn't sleep. Build my clientele. Worked at me, John, and Mario.
Mario,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mario Little. Yeah, and just stayed up 5 years till I built my clientele, and then and Eric Carden, he was there. Me and him worked
yeah,
together, and so stayed there for 5 years, built my clientele. One day, my cousin called me. They called me man. My family called me man, and she was like, "I see a building open down here." I went down there and looked at it, and then didn't look back. Start putting the plan together, and then it was off.
yeah. Now I remember. I'm thinking back to that time period. One, as I'm thinking back, I think Audrina, who who is your cousin,
Yeah. Matter
uh,
matter of fact, that's who I stayed with when I came home from prison. That's why I got paroled to.
okay, so it's making even more sense because I knew Audrina. We were in the same class from first through fifth grade, the same
Okay.
class all those years.
Okay.
And then and we were just always at least cool and cordial. And I remember we were in school at Jordan, and she was like, you should like doing something to help promote
Yeah.
you and as a barber. And I
Yeah.
was like, what? This your cousin? Da, da, da. And I think that was the thing that made me say, all right, let me see what he got. Let him cut my hair. Because at
Right.
that point, I was still a little like cautious.
Right.
And she was, and I think it was because she pitched something or not, like had a business card or something, and it made me think, oh, okay, let me see what Leon doing over here. Like I'm
Right.
curious, like you already shared like what that initial um phase was like, but I'm curious. It took you 5 years to build a clientele. This is the thing where I say, um, knowing how to do something very well is one thing, right? A lot of us can do things well, whether it be cut hair, cut grass, um, design clothes, you name it. But finding people that will pay for what you do is different,
Mhm.
right? Like getting a book of business, building clientele over time. Can we talk about that element? Like what really like what do you think is really necessary for a young barber to do that the right way? Just given your experience and what you've done in your career.
My barber instructor, Mr. Mac Tobias McLean. Shout out to him. He's always talking about being consistent.
Mm,
And that's one of the things you got to be consistent. Not only in your haircuts, but coming to work, being on time, showing up for your customers, um, all that. You just got to be consistent. And if something you're really trying to do, or something you really want to do, I don't care what it is, what type of business it is, you got to be consistent in doing it and put your best foot, forward and do it. And that's what it was, man. Like I said, I can't work when I ain't had no clients. I'm like some people, a lot of young barbers when they first get out of school, if it's slow or if they cut one, two heads, they gone.
mm-hmm.
If it's just slow or ain't nothing going on, they ain't coming to work.
Mm-hmm.
Especially new day, if there ain't nothing going on, they not staying sitting around, And but like I said, I was there. Like I said, I'm asleep. I'm waiting on that next one. If nothing didn't come, John used to. He started. He's gonna work early on. I think it's on Saturdays, and I didn't have no clientele at all. I would come to work early like him, like I had clientele.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, even if I didn't, I would come to work early like I had clientele. And that's why I tell some of my barbers now, like, look, come expecting. You gotta come expecting. If you already not, if you showing up not expecting, you go get that nothing. Even if you're not gonna cut, sit and watch.
Mm-hmm.
Help out around the shop, sweep up. You know, talk. Just look. Just come expecting. So yeah, that's what it takes, man. You gotta come expecting
Mm.
and be patient.
Like you do that for 5 years. I remember like the current location. So if you in Durham or the Triangle area, you you got to know 15501 at this point. If you especially Durham Chapel Hill, you know the term 15501. So we
Uh-huh.
talking about 15501. Currently, we talking about where Old South Square used to be. Currently, there's a Target over there, Sam's Club, Petco, Chick-fil-A over on the side, and then there's this like shopping center on the strip or right on the outskirt, right there along that little service road of 15501. Now, when you ride by there today, you'll clearly see at the front of that shopping center Tobacco Road, barber and beauty shop. But before that location, you were in the corner, in the
Yeah,
cut, like
yeah,
all the way in the back, like all the
yeah,
way in the back, in the cut.
uh-huh,
What was
yeah.
the name of that first shop that you opened all the way in the back in the cut?
That was the name of it too.
It was Tobacco Road at the time back then.
Uh-huh. And then I named it that just because of I'm a sports fan. I'm a Duke fan. Yeah. And and I named it Tobacco Road. Because the rivalry. And the history of North Carolina tobacco, and Tobacco Road rivalry, Duke Carolina, and I just named it Tobacco Road. And that's what it was. 2008 when I started it. Yeah.
2008. Yeah, that I remember being in school and then coming back over a break and you had your own shop. That
Mm,
I do remember. So that makes sense. 2008. And
yeah.
so going from when you work at somebody else's shop versus owning your own shop, like
Mhm.
what is in terms of a business owner or just a entrepreneur, what does it cost you to say work at somebody else's shop versus the way you got to do things when you own your entire shop?
What do you mean? What does it cost?
Because like, so
How
for
about as far?
example, like if I go to JNS, he's already got the shop, he's got the
Mhm,
name, there's chairs there, there's lights there. Like maybe I got to pay for some equipment, but I don't necessarily have to pay the utilities. I don't got to pay the lease. I don't got to pay any of those things.
mhm.
But I think barbers rent out
Yeah,
a
yeah,
chair or something else. I'm not exactly sure how the structure works. So I guess that's more so what I'm asking. Like, what
yeah.
is that
Barber
structure like when you are working at a barbershop versus when you
owner.
actually own the barbershop?
Yeah. Well, it's some pluses, negatives, and positives to both. Because it's easy to put a barbershop together, but if you don't get a good team in there, it's gonna be a struggle for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even with when I first opened up the barbershop, I was by myself for 9 months in
Mm-hmm.
that shop. I even lost customers because I was by myself. I like I was doing appointments, and even, man, back then my clientele had got so big, like had so many appointments, like people was pre-booking, like
Right.
stayed filled up. So when people who didn't book or wanted to just walk in, I couldn't get to them. So
Right.
I lose the customers then, and so I ain't had no barbers. And sometimes it's hard to find barbers, or when you do find them, they're not a good fit. or they don't come to work. It's a whole lot. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so but the plus is once you do get it, they pay you booth rent, and that's how you're able to grow and scale the business with barbers paying you booth rent. But if you ain't got no barbers, like we all need each other. I don't care what type of business it is. I don't care if it's corporate. I don't care if it's your own business you have, your own LLC or whatever you got. We as people need each other. You know, so if you don't got good barbers, you don't have a good team to help keep the establishment going. It's gonna fail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like anything else is like because you work for corporate. They got you doing whatever you doing. You and your coworkers doing. They need y'all. Y'all need them. It's basically the same thing.
Word. And and like you mentioned something that made me think because like from a barber, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but
Mhm.
if I go to gym and Jim always cut my hair and then I walk in, these days walk-ins ain't even a thing. So I mean I'll say that I don't even think walk-ins is a thing in the culture no more. But at a time it was. You just kind of walk in and you have to sometimes wait a couple hours before you get your cut. Like that is how I was growing up.
We still do walk-ins, but it's like you say, it's mainly appointments now. But I tell people, you can walk in, just depends on when you go sit down and check, get your haircut.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it turn out good, sometimes it don't.
So if I always go to gym,
Mm-hmm.
but then Bill is just right here chilling. And I'm like, man, I just need a quick line. I just need a quick such and such.
Mm-hmm.
It's from what I understand, it's not good behavior, if you will, to just like work on somebody else's client, if you will, like you poaching clientele.
Right.
So when you own the barbershop, though, from your perspective, like how you say you were starting to lose customers because the schedule was tight, and but you don't want to lose their business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like delegate to say, you know what, this maybe this client can go over here. I don't want to lose this client. Like, how do you deal with that aspect of it when you're trying to help people who are in your shop, but at the same time, everybody is entrepreneurial here, got their own book of business. Like,
Right.
how do you manage that element, being a shop owner, yet like a player coach, if you will?
Well, I always try to out ever since I had my own barbershop, I always try to push people like this is what I would do. Even if I wasn't cutting or so Impel, Tobacco Road, I always put myself in the back of the barbershop. Some people say the owner need to be at the front.
Mm,
I always
mm,
put myself in the back. Only because if I get new barbers in my barbershop, I want them to be the first ones that people see and speak to help them to build their clientele. I will purposely not say anything to somebody who come in the door
right.
because I don't want them talking to me. I want them to talk to my new barber. I want them to have that their first interaction. Like
Yeah.
your chair, And some even with that, I always try to feed, even I have some customers that I've tried to give to other barbers, barbers who was growing, so that's how it works. And then sometimes people like you say walk ins, and I've had customers that call me or they can't they want to walk in and just come straight in. I'm like, look, I got somebody else who can do it. I got people now who might call me. I can't get them. I'm like, look, I got another barber who can do it. You want him to do it. So that's basically how it works. Some people ain't like that. A lot of people ain't like that. They try to get it all, but I never been that tight. I'm trying to help everybody.
Word.
I like
Word.
to see people grow, man. I like to see people, you know. It's even with booth rent, man. When I get new barbers, I give them a good leeway, on far as not charging them full booth rent or booth rent for a little bit to help them, uh, get on their feet, help them get, acclimated and get accustomed to, getting clientele and building a little money, and then I give them a set time, and then I start, charging them certain prices and keep, until they are able to, or I see fit that they need to start paying full booth rent.
Mhm.
But I'm always, trying to help them out.
Word. No, man, that's dope. That's definitely dope. And like, I remember, like I said, like from, I guess was technically like day one from barber school when you ended up at JNS,
Mhm.
and I became a client, and I've only really like, I've had 3 barbers, I think, in my life. Like, this is what I'm saying, like, since being an adult, I've like, since high school, when I'm in Durham, I only go to Leon.
Mhm.
If I'm in, and I lived in Winston, when I was in Winston, shout out to Reg. Reg, if you watch it, Reggie the barber. If I was in Winston, I went to my boy Reg. And honestly, I couldn't even find like a trusted barber in random pockets. Like, I did have a guy randomly on the border. He was randomly from Raleigh. So it was like the only black dude that I saw on the border, and he was from North Carolina.
Mhm.
Couple months. DC was kind of random, but I did have my guy Lionel in Amsterdam. So I realized I really had 3 barbers. Both Leon and Lionel, which is kind of funny. But then my boy Reggie, man, and that, like, as a dude who at a younger age, like, really prioritized those waves. Like, hair was so important. Like,
So, look, let me ask you this: what made you? How did you feel the first time I cut your hair? What made you start coming back?
I gotta keep it a stat, man. So, and I've heard somebody else say this, but it's the truth. You take your time,
Yeah.
and it's not rushed,
Mhm.
and like having just grown up going to different barbershops, you'd be like, oh, that only took 15 minutes, or that only took, it's like you know when you kind of been rushed out of there. And then
Right.
also too, like when you look in the mirror and you see the quality, you like, yeah, no, I like how I look. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, he don't got me looking crazy.
Right.
And like, and so at the time too, Mario had a lot of clientele,
Right.
and I ain't like all that waiting too. So I was like, you know what? Adrena gave me the car. I'm like, you know what? Let me see what he got. Boom. And then from there, I was like, you know, I'm straight over here. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like that honestly, that was it. But the quality of the work, one, but then the experience in the chair is the other piece to it. So it's like, when you got a good experience in the chair and you know you're gonna have good quality at the end of the day, like, why not? You know what I'm
I
saying?
ain't gonna
So
lie, the way your waves were spinning, boy, it was hard to fade them waves in,
yeah.
boy. Yeah, it's like, you used to wear the even, then you start getting the fade.
Yeah.
The fading waves, especially when they real deep, can be pretty tough.
Yo. Yeah. So it's also funny too, because I'm having this conversation with you, and I would say, like, some days when I go to a barbershop, I will be zoned out. But we talk, right? Like we talked about when I was trying to get my podcast going, when you were in the early stages of getting your podcast going, and like we definitely talk, but we haven't ever had a conversation. Like, I'm definitely learning more about you here in this hour and 20 minutes or so than I have in like 2000. Well, like, this is 20 years basically. Like, yeah, like 20 years of having that relationship. I'm learning so much more about you here than just over a 20-year period. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, from a business perspective, I don't know the size, pause, of the one back in the corner, but the location of Tobacco Road now it's significantly bigger,
Mm-hmm.
more seats,
Mm-hmm.
more just room.
Right.
How did you know that you were ready to, like, make that expansion from because you went You spent your time, you got your clientele, and you said, I want to open up my own. Boom, open up your own. But then you do that, you grind it out, and then you end up expanding. Like, how long did you stay in that initial space before you expanded, and what made you take that route?
I stayed in that first spot was 8. Let's see, 8, probably about 2.5. I'm started in 08, moved in the front, and beginning of 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever. And I brought on co-owner Moses Gonzalez. He had been cutting my hair since I came to Durham, and
Word.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
shout out to Mo.
I went through a couple hairstylists in the back and a couple different barbers, and finally had got a good team together and just outgrew that space. It was 1, 2, 3. His 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 or 7 of us in that. The space was kind of small. I mean, it
Yeah,
was spacey in the back, but the way it was designed, it was just kind of tight.
yeah.
And we all had clientele, so once I saw that other space was open, I was like, well, it's time to make a move. And 2011 came, and that's when we moved up in there. We started. Well, we started talking to contracts before then. Of course, we had to get it up and running. So we had to do a lot of work in the inside too. So that took a lot. And so we
Word.
just clientele, and all of us having clientele and that growth, and that's how I knew we was able to move up in there.
So Tobacco Road is co-owned by you and Mo.
Yeah, me and Mo co-own Tobacco Road.
Word,
Mm-hmm.
word.
Started by myself in '08, but then I've been was trying to get him on for. I actually tried to get him to start with me before I even did it myself, but he wasn't ready yet.
Word. So I
Mhm.
mean, that's a dope story, and so I remember. I remember opening up in the front,
Mhm.
and then randomly you were like, I'm on the side of the building. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm thinking, hey, when you told me this, I'm like, oh, what happened to the shop? Like, I'm thinking something happened to the other shop. Like, but you like,
Mhm.
nah, I open up another joint on the side. And I'm like, and I remember pulling up, I'm like, okay, Tobacco Road still right here.
Mhm.
Gotta walk around to the side of the building to walk in here in the Impel Barber and Studio. So
Yeah.
like, what was the moment where you're like, you know what? I like what I got here, Tobacco Road. And now that I know that, are you the sole owner of Impel Barber and Beauty? I guess would be a question. But at what point did you say, you know what? I like what I've set up here, but I want even more.
So I always knew I was gonna open up another barbershop. I just didn't know when. Like, I never know when I'm gonna do something. It just, I guess, things just kind of flow. I just take things as they kind of flow, and I just go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And but I always knew I wanted to. Actually, I was before the pandemic. I was already looking around for different spots. I was looking in Burlington, not Burlington, Mebane, Chapel Hill, other spots around, trying to find one. And this spot came open in the same complex. I was like, well, you know, I can just do it right here in the same complex. You
Yeah.
know, customers won't have to go too far. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something different. Um, and this was I opened up Impel Barber Studio in I think it was October 2021. And I just wanted to do something different, man, because as years grew and I grew, and I started learning. I'm gonna tell you what all this started, man. I started learning about stocks.
Mm.
And shout out to Larry Thomas. He used to always talk to me about stocks. And in 2017, that's when I first started, really trying to learn about stocks. And as I started learning about stocks, my whole mindset just started changing. I'm learning stocks, and then of course you start looking on YouTube, and other things start popping up, taking you down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started doing that, man, I wanted to open up another barbershop, but do something different with the barbershop. And I wanted to inspire people to learn more. Even with me not graduating from high school or not having a GED or not being quote unquote educated, I wanted to inspire people to learn more. And when I come to find out, people who've never been down the path I went down, a lot of them don't know about stocks.
Right.
Even people who've
Go to
been
college and do everything. Yeah.
don't know, and then they do know they have a 401k, but that don't necessarily know they know what stocks, know about stocks. And I started learning about that, and started learning about business, and started learning about LLCs, started learning about this, just everything. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna open up this barbershop, and what I'm gonna do is put up the books that you seen the books that I got in the barbershop, money, health, wealth, inspiring people to do just sparking that conversation, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so that's what I did. And I came up with the word impel. Well, I didn't come up with the word. I found the word. Um, I went through a couple. I don't know if I was. I think I was just googling words, looking up words, going down the letters.
Mm-hmm.
And impel said, "Take action." The excuse me, trying to get over this sickness. And the drive force or urge someone to do something. And I wanted to be that driving force to urge people to take action, to just to impel forward, to grow, you know. And that's what I took the whole impel and made it a brand, the word impel, impel forward. Of course, I got the Impel Forward podcast and Impel Barber Studio, and now the Impel Clothing Apparel I'm trying to build. And yeah, I took that, man, and just I all I show is business podcasts or motivational podcasts, and just to get people learning and thinking different, man. What I love about it, man, people really take to it. People come down, they writing down podcasts, and some people come in, when it's not podcast not playing, they like, what we watching today, why you ain't watching this and this and that, and that's what I love, man. I get a lot of feedback on it, a lot of
Word.
feedback. Yeah, a lot about inspiration.
Word. And so when you thought about opening up the shop
Mhm.
and you gave it that Impel name, did you know you wanted to do a podcast and create like a whole clothing brand and everything too?
Nah, so that goes back to what I was saying, man. So I just it stuff it's just steps. Stuff start flowing. And I guess it's about entrepreneur brain. I guess it just once I start something, then it leads to something else. But I actually in 2015, man, I actually had a YouTube channel, but I didn't never do anything with it. I know I got it, had it up. Somebody helped me put it up, but I never did anything with it. Now, first I was gonna do some more. I can be a little funny. People don't know that. But I got a lot of stuff written down, but I hadn't did nothing with it yet. I got a whole nother channel. But and that's that one thing too. That entrepreneur mind can have you trying to do everything at one time, and you want to get nothing done.
Right. Right.
So I sometimes I gotta bring myself in. Like, look, you're trying to do too much. So yeah, I didn't know, man. I just I think the pot. So when I started watching podcasts, and then it clicked, like, man, I had a YouTube channel this whole time, and but once I guess once that word impel, I took that and just really seeing what it meant and what it said, and using my story, want to inspire people with the things I've been through, and if I'm able to put my foot forward and doing the things I'm doing, why can't you? but we all have setbacks in some kind of aspects, and like somewhere in life, we maybe big or small, but we all have some kind of setback. But some setbacks are bigger than others, and I'm looking at me like, man, things I've been through, or what I've been through, and where I'm at now. Let me try to inspire people. You know, just to. Man, I love even with you when you start your podcast. Like you said, we talked about it, and I'm looking at you. I'm like, man, you because you was like figuring out the same time with me, and I'm looking at you now. You got over 500 followers. I'm like, I love it. I'll be
Yeah,
looking at you. I'm
yeah.
like, how you do this? How you do that? Even though I still ain't, because I ain't too tech savvy. I bought my first. Matter of fact, that's why I bought my first laptop, because when I started doing, I was selling Herbalife and doing stocks. I didn't, man, tech and laptops. That wasn't me. So, and that's when that's when I bought my first laptop, because I know I needed to get into it and learn it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's that. We're Impel, man. I just want to inspire people, man. So then when I started the podcast, I just told a couple of people that I knew, and they helped me with it. I got a 2 or 3 man team that helps me, and started off kind of shaky a little bit, because I'm country, for one. I mumble a little bit, get it talking fast, and but I didn't care. That's part of that taking
You
action, getting
gotta
out there
take.
doing it.
That's what I'm gonna say, man. I think that's one of the dope things about the word is, and just like piecing it together from the outside in, is that the word in itself is like a mantra,
Mm-hmm.
and for someone in your position, it the name itself
Mm-hmm.
pushes you to continue to keep going. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like you keep saying, take action, take action, take action. You say it over and over and over again. Eventually, you're going to act. Like it starts in the mind. So it's like just even having it coined in a way where the word itself is like that's what it means, and
Right.
you're around it all the time. You're represented all the time. Like to me, it's a constructive way to, like, I think the universe has laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this fits in a way where, according to universal law, it's karmically rich because
Right.
it's progressive. It's like you said, it's not reactive, it's proactive. It's about taking charge, going after it, and you are what you consume. So it's like you keep consuming that, doing that over. It's like it's just gonna keep fueling you to going and going further and further. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I like that you've created this infrastructure, if you will, that as it grows will continue to help you grow. You feel what I'm
Right.
saying? Because that's what the whole thing is built around, taking action and moving forward.
Right. Right. And then even with me starting mine, man, I haven't like I'm into inspiring other people to want to start podcasting, man. And that's the thing. Might be like I have conversations. People ask me how to do it, what to do, what to do. I'm telling them, do this, do that, do this, do that. And that's the whole, like you said, the word impelled speaks for itself. Take action, and they get into it. So I have these conversations, man, in my chair a lot, and I had this plumber. I was playing a podcast, Les Brown, and he hadn't ever heard of Les Brown, and he was listening to it, man. He's a white guy, man. He started crying in my chair, you
Oh
know.
wow.
Yeah, he started crying in my chair, like, man, he's like, I want to do stuff on my own and this and that, but I don't know how, and he just started telling me everything, man. I'm asking him questions, and giving him advice on what to do or how to do, telling him where to get started, what he need to do first. So that's what I like to give advice, and if I can't or if I don't know, I can point you to someone who do know, or a podcast that talks about the situation or what you're trying to do. Every podcast, everybody may give some advice, some good advice or some bad advice, but it's a step in the right direction. You can take it in and look at it yourself and get out what you need out of it. So that's what I try to do, man.
1,000%, man. And like, so can you tell people a little bit about the Impel 4 podcast and what that podcast is set out to do?
Yeah, man. It's first couple stories, man. What episodes is I have a lot of people that who've been through my situations like me, who've been to prison and who've came home and doing good things in the community. They started their own business. They also helping other people, and it's basically just to give put people's stories out there and let them know that people can change, you know, and everybody, deserves a second chance. Well, most people deserve a second chance, you know, and just to give uh just to tell people stories, man. Everybody have a story, you know,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how great or bad or good or whatever. Everybody has a story, and I just want to share with people, man. And I like to get to know people's stories myself, and give other people, just that time to share, and that's what I started out with. I started out with because that was where I came from prison to doing good things now, and so I'm kind of doing more of talking to people who've never been to prison, but have business or just have a story they want to tell. Who may have just some good things going on in life, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, that entrepreneurship mind, man. I got another idea of mine for a podcast. I want to give to somebody, but I gotta figure that one out too.
Word. No, we'll take that off the record just in
And I
case.
actually want to talk to you about that too.
Yeah, I said we'll take that off the record just in case. We won't tell everybody that one. We'll take that one off the record just in case. So
Yeah, that's that, man. I just want to help people, man. I like one thing I want to do. I don't know if I ever told you this, but what they call it? What's the TV show? What's the Boss TV show? The
Undercover Boss?
Undercover Boss. I love that show, man.
Yeah, good show. That is a good show.
I want to be that one day. I just want to be able to bless people, and just we all want to make money. We all want to be wealthy, but it ain't nothing like helping somebody or giving back somebody and watching them smile, making their day. So that's what I do want to. I'd love to be that one day.
Word
So,
up. Nah, man. Yeah. Hey, if I'm being honest, bro, you don't necessarily. Maybe you do, but the self-esteem get stepping up out that chair. Like when you hand them that mirror and they know they was looking trash just an hour ago, and it's just like they sit in that chair and they get that mirror and they like, ooh, like you do that every day, bro. Like low
yeah.
key, like, especially for a black man. The
Mhm.
relationship a black man has with his barber, bro,
Yeah.
is there, outside of like a father, nobody else makes a man feel more confident than his barber, bro. Like in all seriousness,
Yeah.
I think like every Nick, like most would agree. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing feeling like, man, I got a fresh cut. I know I look the part from that standpoint.
Yeah.
And you do that every day, man. So it's funny you say that's what you want to do, but that is literally what you do day over day.
Yeah, man. And I've always been humbled about that too, man, because people they do like compliment me on that, making them feel good and looking fresh, but I'm always humble about that, because it's a lot of good barbers out here, but yeah, I appreciate that, man. I
Of
appreciate
course, of course. Hey, look, I'm loyal. Hey, I've been going from when I had hair to now I don't have hair, and I just go for my beard.
it.
And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, look, hey, look, if you are looking for a good experience, I don't need to say this because it's well known. I mean, you've been doing your thing here in Durham now for, like we said, over 20 years. But Tobacco Road, Barber Beauty Shop, we got the Impel Studio, all off that service road, right there off 15501.
All in one complex.
All in one complex, right across from the rooms to go. Is right there off that service road. Um, you need to check it out. Now, he can't make you look this handsome. That's just something that I got. But when it comes to the lines and everything, he'll have you looking like the best version of you. That's what I can tell you. Guarantee, guarantee, guarantee. Leon, like, I appreciate the time, the openness, just the willingness to share the story. Like, when it comes to the merch and the apparel, where can people find this Impel Forward gear?
Uh, I have a website that I got up. I'm getting it redone, but right now you can just go to impel forward.com, or you can inbox me on Facebook at Leon Hines, or I'm on IG. You can find me on Impel Forward Podcast, or you can inbox me on the Barber page, Impel Forward Barber Studio. I mean Impel Barber Studio. I always got it on me. And one thing I want to say about this Impel, about the brand, the clothing apparel. People always ask me, do I have this color, that color, this or that?
Yeah.
I'm just getting started, so it would take time to get all that, But
Hey, leave your favorite colors in the comments. Like you already see, I got the black and red. You see it looking clean. Leon got the gray and red. You even got the Impel hats over there. If you got color schemes in mind, things that you think will look dope with the apparel, go ahead, leave that in the comments. Let us know. Maybe it'll be coming soon here shortly.
yeah, I do have some drops coming. Getting stuff together just to keep stuff going, man. So I will have different colors and stuff. I did start off with different colors, man, but as I'm learning the process and listening to other people, being mentored, they tell me to narrow it down
Right,
to my colors until I start building them more. So that's what
right.
I'm doing. But yeah, and you can find me on all those platforms. Facebook, just Leon Hines, Impel Forward Podcast, Impel Barber Studio. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Man, you giving a lot of game here, a lot of insights. Any just takeaways you hope that listeners listening, viewers watching, just any takeaways you hope that people really can leave with after listening or watching this episode?
Yeah. So we did a lot of laughing, but I don't want people to take anything out of context as far as the stuff I've been through or what I said that
I laugh
didn't.
to keep from crying personally.
Yeah, didn't think it was a serious matter as far as the things that I did going to prison and doing time, and which is very serious. But I want everybody to just put your best foot forward to be a better you, um, and just to love people. I love people, and nobody's perfect. Even myself. Um, we all make bad decisions or wrong decisions, and I got something. Man, nah, I leave that.
No, no, let it fly. Let it
I'll do
fly.
that.
You should.
So I wanted to make it. Well, I still might do it anyway. But I woke up the other night with a about 5 o'clock in the morning, and all I heard was the wrong way, the wrong, and I kept hearing the wrong way, the wrong way, and I laid in bed, man. It was like, and I don't know if I was dozing off or what. I just kept hearing it, and what I got from that is, no matter where you're trying to get in life, if you take the wrong route, you still will get to your destination, but you might not get there on time. And I looked out and I was like, man, what does this mean? And basically it was telling me that I guess, like I said, I'm always thinking that, I'm so far behind, and that could be from me doing things the wrong way in life.
Mm.
And so the best thing to do is try to do things right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing things the wrong way, if you're going the wrong way in life, you may still get to your destination, but you won't get there on time. If you do it right the first time, you'll get there on time and in time. So yeah, that's my word, man.
Word up.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way to end this.
Yeah.
You made it this far. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Y'all know what to do. Don't even play me like that. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all tap in. This is the G podcast where we focus on family. Oh, hold up. My bad, Leon. Actually, I got to do this too. I got to shout out Chanel while we on here at the Impel studio. I got to give her a shout out because it's a full circle moment for me, because when I was a youngin' coming up, and I had my fro and was getting braids, Chanel was braiding my hair at Get This Middle School. And it's just crazy to me that now when I walk in every day to the shop, I'm looking at the person who was braiding my hair when we were young teenagers, with her own client base going crazy. You got kids. That's who you want. Send your kids to Chanel right now. I'm telling you right now. She the best in the whole city with kids. Like, send them over to the barbershop. But shout out to you. I've always appreciated you. I'm very happy and proud to see what you've done. Shout out to Impel as a whole. This is the G podcast where we focus on family, friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and everything else. This is the G podcast. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
It doesn't matter how you feel.
No talk back.